Hey guys, I'm sitting in the car right now, and this morning I had a talk with a God because something happened. My mom said something that triggered me, right? And it was a completely normal thing, but it triggered me. And so I tried to ignore it, and then God kept bringing it up, and I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to ignore it. And he just kept bringing it up and bringing it up. So eventually I was like, I'm just going to confront this. So sitting and talking with him, and currently what God wants me to do before he gives me some of the things that I've been asking for is to forgive. And God literally told me, I'm going to give you to this time next year, to fully forgive and have that heart posture of forgiveness, and to say, not just say you forgive, but genuinely forgive. And I was like, well, how do I know if I'm fully going to forgive someone? And God said, well, that's going to be when you can walk and you just have absolute peace. That burden that's constantly on you is not going to be there anymore. And specifically, I can be vulnerable with you guys. Specifically, talking about forgiving my family, I put a lot of blame on them for a lot of the reasons why I deal with particular things that I deal with today. And I feel like things could have been so much different. Things could have gone so much better than they did. I just feel like a lot of stuff that happened to me was so unavoidable, and I blame my parents for a lot of it, and then I blame some of my siblings. So it's just a lot of blame, pointing fingers, and God's like, you need to forgive them. You've done all this work, and the one thing that I need you to do is to forgive. And that's very hard for me to do. It's very hard. It's presenting itself as a huge challenge for me to forgive. Sorry, I had to put the AC on, but again, it's been a huge challenge for me to forgive and find it in me to forgive, because it hurts. It really hurts. I've gone through horrible friendships and been able to forgive those. I have gone through horrible things in my life, horrible situations. I've been able to forgive myself, which was really hard too. But it's for some reason, it's just so hard for me to forgive my family, because I've never felt like I've been in a family. I've never felt like I had a family. And so when Jesus invited me to be part of his family, it's the only time I've ever felt welcomed. It's the only time I've ever felt loved or genuinely appreciated. I've never really felt acknowledged, seen, celebrated, supported by my family on earth. And so I'm going to university, and it's a chance for me to get away and move far away, have my own apartment, have my own car, have my own place. And God's like, I will give you those things by this time next year, which is when I will be graduating. But you need to forgive. I'm not allowing you to leave that house until you forgive. And that sucks that he's saying that, because he's saying it so clearly to me. But he's like, I can't let you step into this whole new thing I have for you with a heart posture of unforgiveness. I just really cannot have you not forgive. And so that has been especially hard for me to, I guess, maneuver around, because I'm trying to find shortcuts, and there's just no shortcuts at all. It's just, you need to step into a heart posture of forgiveness, and everything's telling me I just can't do that. I'm just too hurt. But God's saying, where there's a will, there's a way. And so I don't have the desire to forgive, but my prayer every day is that God can give me the desire to forgive. And I was just talking to God about it, and I was like, I know that you want me to forgive, but I told God straight up, I'm like, if you think that, I'm going to forgive and then we're going to become this one big happy family that we never were, then that's just not going to happen. And I'm letting you know right now that I believe that I can get to a place of forgiveness, but I'm not going to fake being a family, because I've never felt that family dynamic. My family has never done what quote unquote normal families do. So I'm not going to sit up here and fake we've always been this big happy family. I can forgive, I can reconcile with them, and just be about my peace. And it becomes an issue, and it's hard when one person in the family is the only one willing to make that change. And there's so many generational curses that I'm breaking, and I feel so responsible for other people's actions. And I hate that feeling, because it's I didn't even ask to be here, but now I'm here. I feel like I'm responsible for breaking curses that I never started. And this has been going on for generations and generations and generations. And nobody did the work to break those chains, but I'm seeing them, I'm noticing them. And God called me, and he didn't just call me, he chose me. So I had no other choice but to answer that call. And everyone's like, I'm chosen by God, chosen ones do this, chosen ones do that, but nobody genuinely talks about how hard it is to carry that burden of generations and generations of bad decisions. Like, nobody talks about how hard it is to take a responsibility that doesn't belong to you. And I'm still trying to break down so many strongholds and so many chains that I didn't even create to begin with. And so it's really, really difficult. It's really, really difficult trying to break those chains. And I guess one of the big chains in my family is unforgiveness. And it actually makes a lot of sense because I see it a lot, in my family. A lot of us don't know how to forgive each other, and we just go years and years without talking to each other. And I'm just like, why do I have to be the one to break this? And it's like, I don't have, well, I probably do have it, but I just can't find the desire in my heart to want to change it. It's not that I don't want it, it's that I've just lived so much of my majority of my life not getting it. And so I'm fine with going on my own. I'm fine with doing things by myself. I'm fine with just being on my own. And I'm just asking God, why would you let me do all of this on my own for so long, and then right when I'm about to fully step into being an adult and fully step into being on my own, you want to tell me to reconcile now? Why do I have to reconcile now after I've done the accomplishments by myself? I've celebrated myself. I've been the only one that supported myself. They were never there, and it feels like I'm going to achieve something big, and God is going to allow them to be part of that. And a part of me is upset about that, because it's like, they have never been here. They have never supported me. They've never acknowledged me, but they get to celebrate a threshold in my life that they didn't work hard for. They don't know half of what I did to get here. And so there's a lot of bitterness. There's a lot of resentment. I can't lie. You can hear it in my voice. But I can't be in this posture, because number one, I know that this isn't what God loves. He doesn't love this type of resentment and bitterness. But I also know that God knows where this comes from. And so I trust that He'll help me, and I trust that He'll make a way. But it's really hard to break the chain of unforgiveness. It's very, very hard, because every time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna forgive, then a million reasons come up why I shouldn't. And it sounds so selfish, because God has forgiven me for the crazy things that I've done, but it's really hard to posture your heart in a way of forgiveness. And it takes humility, which is another thing that I'm trying to learn, to be humble, and knowing that, don't set yourself on this pedestal. I've done all the work. I've done everything by myself. Nobody deserves to, that's not what I'm trying to say, but that's how it sounds, because my heart isn't in a posture of humility. So that's part of my summer healing journeys. I'm trying to break this chain, and God knew what He was doing, telling me that I have a year to do it, because God knows I couldn't do this in a week or a day. But yeah, if God's not pressuring you, but if God is convicting you to do something, don't shy away from doing it. Because I listened to a sermon by Sarah Robert Jakes, and she talked about how the sermon was called Blinded by Want, and it's about how we want, but the things we don't want come before the things we do want. And so if we want something, we have to be ready to get something, or to take something we don't want, in order to step into the thing that we do want. And so I don't want to confront this family trauma. I don't want to have those hard conversations, but I do want peace, and I do want to have a place of my own, and I do want to, be able to live on my own, live far away from my family without having a burden or having resentment or having that baggage. But in order to get where I want to get, I have to do all the things I don't want to do. And so whatever God is convicting you of doing, know that it's for your good and for His glory, and you have to do the things you don't want to do in order to get the things you want. You have to. There's no other way, and there's no shortcuts, no loopholes with God. There's just none, and He knows what you're thinking, so just don't even attempt to do that. But, follow Him, listen carefully, and in all your ways acknowledge God. Proverbs 3 verse 6. And He will make your path straight. And ask God what that means. Say, God, what does it mean in all my ways to acknowledge You? What does that look like for me? And He will show you exactly what that looks like concerning your situation.